Okay, moving along in our agenda, it's now my pleasure to introduce you to Elsa Tremblay. She previously received a 2015 Cycle of Hope ALS Canada Doctoral Award and is now actually a recipient of a very prestigious scholarship, the Vanier Award, and is a PhD graduate student in the lab of Dr. Richard Robitaille at the University of Montreal. She's here to talk about her work involving neuromuscular junction. And Elsa, the floor is yours.
Hi, David. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me well?
We can hear you great.
Okay, perfect. So it's my pleasure today to talk to you a bit of the neuromuscular junction. And I'm in Dr. Richard Robitaille's lab. So this is the main focus of our study, is the neuromuscular junction and also glial cell at the neuromuscular junction. So you might ask, why study the neuromuscular junction in ALS? First, ALS is a neurodegenerative disease that is characterized by progressive loss of upper and lower motor neuron. But the NMJ is specifically the connection between the lower motor neuron and the muscle. And it's composed of the nerve terminal, as you can see here, the muscle fiber with their postsynaptic receptors, and also the glial cell, here in blue. It's really on top of the nerve terminal, it's at the NMJ, and they are not myelinating Schwann cells. I will talk about them later. And it has been shown in ALS that the destruction of the NMJ is one of the first events in the disease process before symptoms onset. Now, what about motor unit? First of all, what is a motor unit? It's actually one motor neuron and all the muscle fiber that it's innervate. So you have one motor neuron that can innervate multiple muscle fiber, but there's only one NMJ per muscle fiber. And this motor unit, you can have several types. And I'm going to focus today about 3 different types. You have the fast fatigable one, the fast resistant one, and the slow one that have diverse properties, contractile, fatigue, etc. And it has been shown during the disease process that fast fatigable motor unit innervate before slow motor unit, which makes slow motor unit more resistant. If you're not convinced yet that we should study NMJ alteration in ALS, here's a little illustrating cartoon that does not take into account glia, but as you can see, there are several alterations that have been shown. Axonal transport deficits, vesicle stalling, detachment of synaptic protein, and plane fragmentation, and so on. But we think also that perisynaptic Schwann cells are important players that we have to take into account in our study. They perform synaptic function, not only maintenance of NMJ. They also can decode and detect synaptic activity. They can detect neurotransmitter released by the nerve terminal, and they possess cholinergic and muscarinic receptor, which in turn lead to an IP3-mediated calcium influx in the cell from the internal star, and this can lead to release of glial transmitter to influence and modulate synaptic transmission and plasticity in turn. And they are, in addition, also playing a role in energy reinnervation and repair. So we have previously shown in the lab, actually, Daniel Arboux has shown that there is an altered PXE excitability before disease onset in ALS. What you see right now, you have in purple, you have the calcium indicator 304, and you have the wild type at top and the mutant at the bottom. And following a nerve stimulation of 50 Hz 5 seconds, you have really a big increase in calcium in the mutant mouse. That is not seen in the wild type or the control. So it's really an hyperexcitability of the PSCs that happen before disease onset, which led us to think that probably their function in the NMJ might be altered, for example, in synaptic plasticity, which leads us to several questions that I want to answer with my project, based on the motor unit specific vulnerability and alteration in PSCs. First of all, we want to know, are there some morphological alterations based on the motor unit type in ALS? Then I want to know, are there some synaptic and synaptic activity and plasticity change observed also at the NMJ in ALS developed on the motor unit type? Are the PSCs able to function properly and modulate synaptic plasticity in ALS? And also, what about the neuromuscular function in our mouse model of ALS? To answer all these questions, I'm going to use several methods. First of all, electrophysiological recording, standard. I'm recording close to a neuromuscular junction in the muscle fiber. And then I'm going to study synaptic activity and plasticity in 2 different muscles. First, the dorsal digitorum longus muscle, the EDL, and the soleus muscle, to be able to study 3 different motor unit types: the fast fatigable in the EDL and the fast resistant and slow one in the soleus. We're using a mouse model of ALS that is slow and progressive, the SOD1 G37R. So this mouse model actually develops symptoms at around 15 months of age and are presymptomatic at around 1 year of age. So that's really later on than the traditional G93A at 4 months. I'm going to study also immunohistochemistry to label motor unit type in the soleus and also the 3 components of the NMG for structural experiment. And also I'm using muscle force transducer to measure force frequency, fatigue, recovery, neuromuscular function, and single cell electroporation of PSCs that I will talk about a bit later. So first of all, we wanted to know in our slow model, can we see a differential vulnerabilities in the FF motor unit in the morphological state of the NMJ. So first of all, you have here the soleus at pre-onset stage, so P380, before symptoms onset. You have glia in blue, you have the presynaptic in green, and you have the postsynaptic in red. So actually, you have the mutant at the bottom, and as you can see, it's pretty clear that you have here, you don't have a full coverage of the green on top of the red, so you have partial denervation. You can see also that you have the disorganized end plate. You have also some PSC extension here in blue, trying probably to seek for help. And then we see the same in the EDL muscle, and it's even more striking. So as you can see here, again, denervation. You have partial denervation also. It's clearly visible at pre-onset stage. We start having morphological alteration. If you want to see the quantification, then you see again that the fast fatigable motor unit in black are the most affected for denervation, and they also present less NMJ repair sign. The NMJ repair sign, we call it polyinnervation, when there are 2 nerves innervating the NMJ. You have also when PSCs extend processes toward another junction or trying to seek for help. And this is exactly the same at disease onset. As you can see, it's even more striking. You have this fast fatigable motor unit vulnerability that is clearly there. And probably the positive NMJ repair sign that the soleus shows is probably linked, leads to less denervation because they don't get very bad at this stage. After that, we wanted to know, okay, what about synaptic activity? Is it also altered as a function of motor unit type, which could explain the discrepancies in the literature? I first start with low calcium, high magnesium measurement to blood contraction, and I'm measuring quantal content, which is actually the number of neurotransmitter released per impulse, per stimulation. As you can see, you have like the fast fatigable one show the strongest quantal content in the wild type, and the slow one show the weakest quantal content, which fits with their property, normal property physiological, because fast fatigable one are supposed to be active only transiently to give a lot of force, whereas the slow one are tonically active. And it's pretty much a reverse in the mutant mouse. As you can see, the fast fatigable one are the weakest, whereas the slow one are the strongest, which doesn't fit at all. And the reviewer asked ourselves, okay, is it because of the calcium concentration? Because you're not in normal calcium. So I did again a recording in muconotoxin, and as you can see, it's totally the same pattern that you can see. There's clearly opposite synaptic strength alteration in slow versus fast fatigable motor unit in ALS. And this phenotype is so clear that it can be used to assess the efficacy of therapies because it can be tested to rescue transmission deficit. And I've done some experiment with the thimerosal, and it was able to restore transmission in the SOD1 fast fatigable motor unit. And there's presently a clinical trial going on that we heard about yesterday. Then I wanted to know, okay, since synaptic activity is not going well, it's altered as a function of motor unit type, PSCs are not functioning well as well. What about synaptic plasticity at the NMJ in ALS? First of all, synaptic plasticity corresponds to the augmentation or reduction of synaptic strength of a synapse following a specific pattern of activity. We're not sure what's the role at the NMJ, but probably could be a mechanism for improving NMJ efficacy, adaptation to motor activity, etc. But it can tell you if the synapse is healthy and able to react properly. And as I said earlier, PSCs are important in the production of NMDA synaptic depression and potentiation by the release of gliotransmitter. Oh, sorry. So we first studied the early change in fast-fatigable motor unit because we find some at 6 months. And as I said, they're not even pre-onset at 6 months. They have no symptoms at all. So using the same muscle preparation, I'm basically stimulating high-frequency stimulation, 50 Hz, 15 seconds, 80 Hz, sorry, 15 seconds. And as you can see in red, you have the mutant one, shows more depression during the high-frequency stimulation and long-term depression following the train for like probably 25-30 minutes, which is very impressive. And this is already deficit seen at this stage. For the soldiers, there's not much going on. There's no deficit really that I can see at 6 months of age. It's really only in the fast-fatigable motor unit. Then I wanted to see, okay, what about the pre-onset stage? I wanted to use the same simulation, 80 Hz, 15 seconds, but the mutant one was not able to fire for the 15 seconds, so I had to change for 3 simulation of 80 Hz for 5 seconds. So the gray arrow are the stimulation. So during stimulation in the box here, it's during the high frequency stimulation. As you can see, more depression in the mutant mouse during the high frequency stimulation. But what's interesting is after each stimulation, you get progressively more and more depressed, and it takes half an hour to come back to normal. So again, strong deficit there. And we are not sure, is it because of the PSCs? What's the role of PSCs in that, and what's the implication for neuromuscular function? Then I wanted to see, okay, what about in the soldiers? In the soldiers, so far, I've only been able to see mild synaptic plasticity deficit only after disease onset. This 50 Hz and not 80 Hz is just to be more, to stimulate the muscle in a more physiological way, because the soldiers doesn't have the same motor unit. And as you can see again here, for the fast-fatigable motor unit, this is a bit of more depression after the high-frequency stimulation and no potentiation. But it's pretty mild. It's very different from what I see in the fast-fatigable motor unit. So then the future direction of this side of the project is really to determine if PSCs in ALS are able to modulate synaptic plasticity. Because as I said, they are supposed to be responsible for the release of gliotransmitter that impacts synaptic plasticity. So I'm going to perform selective electroporation of PSCs, like shown here. So I inject various substances, calcium dye, NP, GTA, photolabile chelator, or cage-bacta compound to really play with the calcium inside the cells selectively and to abolish or mimic calcium elevation in PSCs. And then I'm going to record at the same time to see the effect on synaptic transmission. And finally, we want to focus also our study into neuromuscular function because it's an important outcome of an MG function. So we want to know, is there some muscle-specific difference in neuromuscular function, muscle fatigue, recovery in our mouse model? So I just have so far done the measurement in the solidus. EDL will come eventually. But first of all, we wanted to check the force and frequency curve, which is a standard procedure. So basically, I have my nerve muscle preparation in the muscle force inducer, and I can stimulate the muscle or the nerve at various frequency, which gives me a force frequency curve. As you can see here, you have the muscle and nerve stimulation for the wild type in the upper curve, and the muscle and nerve stimulation for the SOD1 is in the lower curve. And they're basically at pre-onset stage, even if they have no symptoms, they have nothing, there's clearly a diminished peak force, clearly evident even in the soldiers that is resistant. And it's also continuing after disease onset, and the difference is even more striking, which was expected, but still there's a big difference in the force and frequency curve. So then we ask ourselves, what about fatigue and recovery? Is it altered? So we tried this fatigue protocol, 50 Hz for 500 milliseconds, 300 millisecond break during 5 minutes, which lead to 300 repeats. And then the nerve stimulation was done 9 times out of 10, and the 10th one was the muscle stimulation. Because in fatigue protocol, the muscle is less fatigable than the nerve. So that's what you see. Here in gray, you have the muscle stimulation for the SOD1, and in black, you have the muscle stimulation for the wild type, and blue and red are for the nerve stimulation. So as you can see at PREONSET, we were surprised to see that there was kind of a tendency for the muscle to be more resistant to fatigue, but no real difference in recovery. So we were like, okay, let's see at disease onset what is done. But we were even more surprised because the difference is even greater. So as you can see again here, the muscle is more resistant to fatigue for the SOD1, and it's the same again for the mutant in red that is more resistant to fatigue, and the recovery is easier for the mutant. So my boss was a bit skeptical, and me too. So I wanted to imagine another protocol, crazy protocol of stimulation, which is like 25 minutes of a 50 Hz stimulation for 5 seconds each time, with only 300 millisecond rest, so that makes a lot of stimulation. But even after that, it's pretty clear that in red, the mutant mouse can easily go through this and actually is less fatigable, the Soleus. So that was it. So now we're trying to understand why is this? Is it because of a change in the motor unit type? Is it because of reinnervation of different motor units? We have to investigate this because it starts pretty early and it's kind of stable. So in conclusion, we've been able to show that synaptic activity is impaired in the motor unit type manner in ALS, as well as synaptic plasticity in our mouse model. And I need to investigate more accurately the precise role of PSCs in the process of synaptic plasticity and using single-cell electroporation. I've also shown that we have alteration in neuromuscular function in the Soleus. So peak force is decreased in mutant mouse from disease onset and P380. And however, muscle and nerve fatigue is also decreased as disease progresses, which may reflect a change in motor unit or fiber type properties. So finally, I hope I convinced you that there's a lot going on at the NMJ in ALS. Now we want to know also, can we target specifically the NMJ and the PSC in order to rescue the synaptic and motor phenotype and NMJ denervation in ALS? And we are actually doing some tests and treatment in the lab to see what's the impact on PSC's receptor function, on NMJ neurotransmission, on denervation, and so on. So we hope that our work on the NMJ will be able to be helpful in finding a therapeutic target and finding a treatment that may help people with the disease. So with that, I want to say thank you to ALS Canada and David for inviting me, for the grant also, and especially to my supervisor, Dr. Richard Robitaille, and all people in my lab, especially Dr. Daniel Arbault and Eric Martineau. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. Thank you for the talk. Actually, one of the things I forgot to mention in the intro was that Elsa's also been instrumental with her family in helping to raise money and organize a walk for ALS in Quebec after many, many years. And so that's really an amazing thing, and that she's now moving forward working on ALS in the laboratory. Okay, so we have one quick question. And it's kind of whether or not what the correlation is with some of these things in terms of mice to humans. I'm wondering if anyone's ever managed to make PSCs from iPS cells, or whether that would be a possible thing to study them.
Actually, this is something we would like to do, but I'm not sure it has been done, but for sure it has not been done. It would be very interesting to know actually if it's transferable. But we are looking more and more to study the human side, so we're not trying to get tissue from ALS patients and start doing immunohistochemistry and maybe physiology in the future to really try to get a better answer to those questions. But definitely it's an important part to see if really what we see in our model still is valid for human. Definitely.
Great. Well, thank you, Elsa. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.